Do you have any recall of that story?
I just remember we had several loads of artillery rounds on 5-ton trucks, and we got just about a half a mile away from the fire support base, and we got ambushed by the enemy. And then we had, of course, to take immediate action, and we did, and we didn't lose no people or no ammo or anything.
That got you your fourth Oakley cluster. It shows here that you dismounted your Jeep and got to a position where you could get some suppressive fire and call in artillery.
Artillery from a support base on the enemy, and they withdrew. If I remember, it was pretty close to a rubber plantation, where the French had the rubber, and I think that the enemy was in there because for some reason or another, they had some type of rules of engagement that you didn't really do too much fighting in the rubber plantations because of the damage, they were still owned by people from country French,
We want to keep the
Yeah,
business
right.
rolling.
Yeah, but between me and you, if the enemy was there, nobody cared about the trees.
Right.
High up might have cared, but we didn't.
Okay. In 13th March 69, you were awarded the Purple Heart for an action in November of 68. Do you recall why you got your Purple Heart?
I got wounded when I was taking ammo and getting those 2 people, 3 or 4 wounded out. That incident we talked about.
The same event?
Right.
Okay. We talked about the air medals. So you get an air medal for 25
Combat flights.
combat flights.
Yeah, and then if you get 25 more, you get a cluster, second award.
Okay. This is 1st of May of 69, in the Republic of Vietnam. You're serving with your unit at Fire Support Base Holiday Inn
Right.
with the friendly encampment was suddenly alerted for possible enemy activity. Observing several insurgents, Cottrell unhesitatingly ordered the driver of his light vehicle ramp patrol jeep to position the vehicle and its heavy machine gun to the front of the aggressors. While proceeding to their tactical positions, the friendly element was suddenly subjected to intensive automatic weapons, small arms fusillade, which seriously wounded the driver.
Right.
Do you recall what happened after that?
I recall that I believe that was the time when I lost communication with one of the Rapid Patrol Jeeps, and his radio had been hit, I guess, and knocked out, and you didn't know if they was living or dying. So myself and my unit, my Rapid Patrol unit, went to their area, and thank God it was all safe, One was wounded, but that was it.
Okay, I think this is the event where you actually walked your artillery. 14th July of 1969. Your patrols timed to intercept possible insurgent supply routes to and from the village of Ben Co.
That's it, yeah.
After deploying his men to strategic position around the village, Cottrell observed 3 aggressors to his immediate front and prepared to engage the force. As the friendly element waited for the most opportune moment of contact, it was suddenly subjected to an intense rocket-propelled grenade barrage from a hostile unit in the rear.
Right.
Realizing your situation, you adjust supporting artillery fires on the insurgents to the rear and laid his men on effective assault of the enemy positions to the front.
Right, that's what we've done it, right.
Okay, so you kind of spread out.
Spread it out and went over.
Hit them from both ends.
Right.
Okay. When you do a sweep of an area after a battle, after an event, what all does that entail?
Well, when you sweep the area, what you're looking for is a body count there, what KIAs, enemy KIAs. You're also looking for wounded, and so you can maybe capture one of them and get information. And also you're looking at the type of weapons they had. And then you also look to try to figure what size unit it was. And you can come close by if it's raining and all, by the footprints and also by blood trails. If you wounded some and they was getting them out of there. So that's why you sweep the area to see what you've done, you know, to ensure the enemy's still not there too.
Okay. That's a perilous thing to do, though, isn't it?
What, sweep the area?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's normally you when you do that, you have somewhat of an advantage. The firing is stopped. We're not getting any income normally, you know, and we're not firing back because there's nothing to fire at. So we sweep the area to see what was done. You go ahead and check the area, you know, you're fighting in.
It's still a sweeping. You hear the stories of Vietnam, all these booby traps and bouncing betties and anything like that. Has any of your troops ever incurred such an event?
Say what now?
Booby traps, bouncing betties.
Yeah, they set them. A lot of times they made their own. You know, especially the first time or trip over there, they would take bamboo. You follow me, and sharpen it up with a knife, make it point it just like a needle, and then they would take human waste and put on it. Okay, and they would bury it, and you walk through, and believe it or not, some of it was so sharp that it'd go right through your boot. And of course, instead of just making a flesh wound, it infected you.
Right.
See, it was a human waste, so and that made it real bad. So they did stuff like that, especially the first trip I had over there.
How far off of Geneva Convention would you say the North Vietnamese were in their fighting abilities or tactics?
I'd say that they didn't honor that in any way whatsoever. They were the VC, you know, the South, the people, the VC that was in the South, they probably didn't know what the Geneva Convention was. The leaders did, high up, but the individual guerrillas didn't know, so they didn't comply with it. And then as things got worse over in 68, 69, 70, I think that everybody really thought that this thing was going to come to a conclusion, and they was trying to clean up the act a little bit. So they started complying with it. The person that really could tell you more about if they complied with it when he became a POW would be Senator McCain. You know, he knows he was a PW about 5 years, and the stories I hear and the ones I've talked to was PWs. They did not honor no Geneva Convention. Now, I'll tell you one story. We was on ambush one night, and I might have told you this, and one of our soldiers wandered off to use the restroom, to dig his place to use the restroom. And first thing I know, I get a call from a rapid patrol unit, and told me they was missing somebody. And I said, hey, could you miss somebody? And they explained that he wandered off maybe 50, 35, 40, 50 meters to use the restroom or something, and he didn't come back. Well, the only thing you do then was wait till daylight. You use the starlight scopes, but you know, you couldn't pick everything up on the starlight scopes. So all you do is hoping that he'd come back or something. And as soon as day breaks out, when you can see that there's no trap for you out there, ambush waiting for 3 or 4 people going looking for him, then you go looking for him. And of course we did that. When daybreak came that morning, we went looking for him, and we found him. It was myself and 3 or 4 Rapid Patrol members, the medic, and interpreter. And when we come down to a creek, there was a creek running there, we saw this guy, our guy, tied to a tree, and they had tortured him and cut off part of his privates. And you could tell by the expression of his face when you recognized him that he must have went through pain when they did it, so he had to be living when they did it, that we thought anyway. there was 3 VC there, 3 of the enemies, and didn't hear us come up on them, and they were eating rice, and they was, of course, had a little fire and using the water to cook the rice. So we opened up, fired on them, and killed 2 and wounded 1 of them. And one that was wounded was shot in his left arm. And so in talking to this guy, in talking to him, he was asked to interpret why they tied him up and tortured him, and of course he claimed he didn't know he was just the lesser guy of the 3. And he said it was 4 or 5 more, but they had one ahead, and these 3 stopped to guard him and eat the rice. So I had the medic to patch him up a little bit, and I thought about it. We had the medic had a Polaroid camera. You didn't have all these fancy cameras you have nowadays. You could snap a picture and it would print it right then and there. So we took a picture of the 2 that was shot and killed and put out patches. Yeah, right.